Hello and welcome to the world premiere of Crossing the Grain. This is the celebration of 25 years of Arbor and the Arbor Collective. And right now we're doing a little pre-show that's going to run just a couple minutes. And we have a very special announcement for everyone. As you can notice, there are two dark screens on here. So we are going to be introducing two people that we are very excited about. So before we get to the announcement, I'd like to introduce everyone who is on this call. My name is Eddie Wall, former professional snowboarder of 13 years, and now I am proud to be part of the Arbor family as their product manager. Someone who probably needs no introduction, Bob Carlson, founder and CEO of Arbor, snowboarding legend. Then we also have Eric Waetzig, who is the Arbor creative director. What's up, Eric?
What up, dude?
We got Bryan Iguchi, who is a snowboard legend and one of the Arbor snowboard team athletes. Followed up by another unbelievable snowboarder, Marie Francois, who is part of our Arbor snowboard team. And moving along with our female athletes, we have Amelia, Brodka, and another on our skate side. And also on our skate side, we have Shuriken, Shannon. So thank you guys all for joining us. And now for the big announcement. The first person I'm going to be announcing is the latest addition to the pro snowboard team here at Arbor, and it is Steffi Luxton. Make some noise, everybody. Steffi Luxton. Yeah, Steffi, we are so stoked to have you part of the team, and this is amazing. We'll get back to you in 1 second, but let's introduce the latest addition to the Arbor skate team. Again, we are so excited about this edition. Everybody make some noise for Grayson Fletcher.
Grayson.
Thanks, everybody.
So Steffi, this is all new. This kind of all just came together. How does it feel to be part of the Arbor family?
I'm really excited to be a part of the Arbor family. I am honored and really excited to ride with the team. I've always looked up to everyone on there, and it's going to be a good year.
All right. Well, we're equally as excited. Grayson, how does it feel to be part of the Arbor family? We're stoked to have you here.
I'm stoked to be a part of the team. I like what you guys are doing with the Koa Wood in Hawaii, and I wish I would have got a film a part for it. So welcome to 25 years. Wish I could have been a part of it, but here we go. I'm on now.
Well, welcome to the next 25 years. So yeah, we are. We're super hyped. So with no further ado, let's move on to Bob Carlson, the founder of Arbor. Bob, this has been creating this movie, Crossing the Grain, has been quite a process. There's a lot that's gone into it. What has it been like making this documentary and kind of looking back on the last 25 years?
Yeah, I think that's it. We, at Arbor, we always are looking forward. What are we going to do next? How are we going to expand on our theme, sustainability, craftsmanship, on this family of people? And to stop in our tracks and dig up the old stories, dig up the old footage, tear the archives inside out so we could put this together was a completely new experience and one I probably wasn't ready for. But I think the results are pretty good, and I think we were telling a story about how a brand comes of age and how you make a ton of mistakes. And you have to learn to adjust, and you have to learn to trust people and rely on in our case, the collective that sits at the table and helps Arbor renew itself. And it's been pretty rewarding to look and see how we've done it and how we're really positioned to continue to do it in the years ahead. Brands are people, and this brand is no exception. And I think we tell that story in this movie, and I'm glad we made the effort.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I can speak for everyone to say we're all excited to see the final product, and congrats on 25 years. That's a huge milestone.
Yeah.
And Gooch, so I actually just spoke with you the other day. You had just got back from splitboarding. How's Jackson been? How's the snow up there?
It's been a good winter, kind of just taking it as it comes with the storms, and been out riding with the kids a lot, and some good days in the backcountry, good days at the hill. So yeah, so far so good.
Amazing. All right. Well, yeah, we're looking forward to trying to get up to Jackson and ride with you soon. So hopefully that happens. Marie, so yeah, when you kind of came on with Arbor a couple years ago, you had a kind of decision to make. You had some other offers on the table, but you went with Arbor. What was what drew you to the brand?
Well, I think for me, it was really awesome to finally find a company that aligns with the same values, and as far as sustainability and the look and feel and everything. So I feel really grateful and honored that, becoming a part of the Arbor family was a really good fit. And yeah, I'm stoked to celebrate 25 years. Congrats.
Right. And Amelia, so you, word on the street is you got a new pro model and also a film coming out soon?
Oh yeah, I'm very excited about the deck that's coming out. I worked pretty closely with the creative team at Arbor, which is super talented. And the design we came up with is true to my roots and reflects some Polish folklore. So I'm really excited about that. And I've been working on a video part as well for the past couple months. Excited to keep working on it. And it's amazing to have the support of Arbor to do all these kinds of projects. And I feel very blessed to be part of the collective. So thank you.
Awesome. And Shuriken, so, we had talked earlier about how you had a pretty cool collab that's actually can be kind of rare, where you actually skate with the artist who's done some of your graphics. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Connor's dope. He's super talented, man. I've known him for over 10 years. So kind of getting to share this, I don't know, for me, piece of history, and for the company too, so it all kind of came together. And he's like, if you only could see him skate, he rips just as much as he rips as artwork too, and stuff like that. And he's a great tattooer too. So very multi-talented, and I'm just stoked to share this journey with him and Arbor and everybody else with, all good intentions.
Awesome. And then, yeah, speaking of artwork, Eric, our creative director, you and your whole team who work at the office come up with the majority of our graphics, but what is it like, working with some of the collabs that we do with outside artists?
Yeah, like Shuriken was talking about with working with Connor, he's so talented. When I saw his work for the first time, I was like, I want to get tattooed by this dude for sure. So him working with Shuriken to come up with the ideas was super easy for me. Not all of them are that simple, but that one definitely was.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, Eric. And yeah, Bob, before we get into the actual film here, I just wanted to touch on the importance of the Arbor Collective and this team of creative people and athletes and, snow, skate, apparel. And can you just touch on the Arbor Collective a little bit? Oh, mute.
Crossing the Grain is the story of how we got to this collective model. And, to really understand it, you got to understand us. And I mentioned this, 2 young guys we had spent our lives in the wood products world, and our free time was all about snowboarding. My partner and I grew up surfing and skating together, and had fallen in love with snowboarding. And as we were out learning to be businessmen and learning about the wood products world and introducing sustainable woods and trying to convince a world that in the early 90s that wasn't interested in sustainability and giving back to the planet, we were spending all of our time on this addiction to snowboarding, and we realized that there was really nothing happening in the surf skate snow world around sustainability and ideas of craftsmanship and durability. So we entered the market to bring that to snowboarding in our own way. And, you know, we were outsiders. We were so not part of snowboarding at that time. And those differences really are what allowed us to survive. But they also came with a lot of challenges, and the struggles to find our footing and find acceptance as the industry fell apart in the early 2000s, consolidated and fell apart, is a pretty harrowing story. And the only way we did it was turn the pyramid upside down and start elevating people inside this brand, start bringing in athletes and artists and an in-house team that knew more than we did, and bringing them to the table around this concept of the collective that could renew itself and color between the lines of sustainability and craftsmanship. And the film kind of takes you through that discovery, learning how to become a group of people that are all equals, that are focused on this same goal. And the phases of those years of building and growing and being able to bring us to where we are today. And, you know, I think we take some time to laugh at who we were and what we did, and what we've learned over the years and how we got to where we are today. And, you know, when I look to the next 25 years, it's going to be the collective model that we built that keeps us going and keeps Arbor fresh and renewing itself. My job is just to keep us focused on sustainability and performance and craftsmanship and all the things that stem from that. So it's really cool to be launching into this movie and this premiere with all of you guys, a representation of our larger family and what Arbor means. It's about family, and it's about what people can do together when they share a mission and they bring their talents to a table where those talents are respected and honored and made part of the whole. And that wasn't an easy lesson, and there's a lot of good stories that happened along the way. But I think in the end, it's a tale about sticking to your vision and never giving up. So that's Crossing the Grain.
Amazing. Thank you, Bob. And once again, for everyone tuning in right now, we really appreciate your support of Arbor and the brand, and we appreciate you tuning in for this world premiere. Also, if you're just tuning in now and you missed the beginning of this pre-show, we announced our latest snow team rider, Steffi Luxton, and our latest addition to the pro skate team, Grayson Fletcher. So round of applause for you guys. No idea how hyped we are that you're part of this team. This is really, really big news for us. So really hyped. And thank you guys all on this Zoom call for joining us. I appreciate this. And with no further ado, to celebrate 25 years of Arbor, here's the world premiere of Crossing the Grain.
Interested in making sure that people understood that the boards were not just beautiful, sustainable, but that you could actually improve the performance and durability of a snowboard with a natural, sustainable material like wood fiber and later bamboo fiber and all the other things that we've done. That's the ethos upon which we started the brand. And it certainly was different, but it's what we did 25 years ago, and it's what we're still doing today. My name is Bob Carlson, and in 1995, I founded Arbor.
The Arbor snowboards caught my eye and had a real good flavor to it.
Southern California's #1 weekend news, the Channel 4 News at 5:30.
Finally, switching from skiing to snowboarding can be difficult, especially if you've been on those skis for years. Well, we found a company that may make your transition a lot easier. Arbor Snowboards is an environmentally conservative company that's changing attitudes about the sport.
You know, we had been working with veneer, which is thinly sliced wood, right here. We were like, oh, you know, I wonder why people aren't putting wood veneer on top of a snowboard. It seems like the perfect thing to do to create a completely different look that really appeals to people who don't like the bright graphics, the crazy graphics, the cartoons.
I was born in Santa Monica, and I was raised in the Santa Monica Canyon. In the 70s, the canyon was a surf community. It was the place to be. I grew up right when the Dogtown Z-Boys thing happened. Tony Alva had just invented the frontside air, and we followed everything that those guys were doing. We skated the creeks, we skated the schools, we skated everywhere. There's 3 elementary schools, Emergent Junior High, and that's where I first became aware of Chris Jensen, who would later become my partner at Arbor. In 10th grade, Chris became one of my best friends. Chris was this incredibly charming, incredibly fun personality that people wanted to be around. You know, he woke up in the morning and laughed and had fun and was on an adventure all day long. I eventually got my act together and moved to Colorado and went to the University of Colorado. I was delivering pizzas that summer. I had saved enough to get a Vail Pass, and I was ready for the season. And I went and got a snowboard. And I started snowboarding, and I've never been on skis since. I took a year off and spent a year just slumming it around Asia and the South Pacific. On the way home, I stopped through Santa Monica to see my folks and reconnected with Chris. He said, look, man, I've started this little business selling sustainable wood from Hawaii. And what they're doing is they're cutting the standing dead or fallen dead trees, and they're selling the wood to fund the restoration of this land. And he wants me to be the guy who sells the wood. And you want to be involved? You want to do this with me? And I was like, really? Chris was really good at selling things and making you think they were the greatest things ever. And I, wide-eyed jumped into it with both feet. For me, I was an environmentalist. That's what I cared about. And I always knew that whatever I did for work, the environment was going to be part of it. It was a tough business. Why wouldn't everybody want to buy this environmentally friendly wood and use it in their products? Well, it turns out they didn't. It was more expensive than the koa that they could get from non-environmentally friendly sources. I would go to these trade shows and go to these meetings, and people would be like, sustain a what? The planet for me was critical to go out and do the things I loved. It was a really important lesson about how you get people to participate in an effort around sustainability. That experience is how I started my career. Not a lot of my friends had even started snowboarding yet. So I would either go by myself or I would go with Chris. Chris was the only other guy I knew who was snowboarding on a regular basis. From Venice, where I lived and skated and surfed, to Mammoth, where I was going to snowboard. you drive up the backside of the Sierras in this sort of high desert into alpine terrain that is just strikingly beautiful. Those trips from Venice to Mammoth and back were when we first started talking about starting a snowboard company. So we talked a lot about the customer, we talked a lot about making stuff that we liked. Maybe we could bring what we knew about sustainable natural materials, woods, bamboos, to a snowboard brand. Maybe we could make these crafted wood top snowboards. And we suspected that we could make a board that performed better by introducing wood fiber, maybe getting rid of some of the plastic. We ended up hooking up with this guy in Riverside and building our own factory. So we spent that year figuring out how to seal the wood, how to get the resin to work with the wood, how to make a wood top sheet without a plastic. You know, there's a lot of wood top boards out there today, and they're all using technologies that we started in the early 90s.
Arbor was founded in 1995 to produce a unique line of snowboards unmatched in style, workmanship, and performance. Growing up here in LA surfing, and then learning to snowboard and thinking of it as a way to surf the mountains, it was a natural connection to something that we grew up with, part of who we are.
One of the questions I would always ask everybody when they were launching a company in the snowboard industry is, how are you going to stand out? How are you going to be different? I didn't have to do that with Arbor because you could see it in the boards. They were like no other boards in the marketplace.
95, 96 trade show, SIA, Las Vegas was my first introduction.
Arbor came in unapologetic and like, no, this is who we are.
The front of the booth is a tree. We got a log off the beach. I even think we had jungle noises.
My first impression when I saw the boards, I personally didn't really get it, but I was willing to listen.
We were true outsiders. I think that allowed us to survive, but it also made the path really challenging.
There was this massive explosion in people trying to get into the industry.
I mean, there were literally hundreds. It was a mess of adrenaline and marijuana and booze-fueled nuts.
Well, if you've never been to one of the trade shows, it was pretty amazing because you had those well-established companies that were just so ensconced in the snow industry that we're here. It's like the Ritz-Carlton. Everyone wanted to come and be around them. And then you had those fringe companies that were just trying to get their foot in the door and just trying to grow.
I mean, in 1995, all you needed to start a snowboard company was a scanner, purchase order from Japan, and a buddy who could do frontside 3. He's your team.
Snowboarding at that time was 200 to 300 brands globally. So the competition was off the charts.
Most of these brands were focusing on team riders and graphics. Where Arbor came along, they had a point of differentiation. They were talking about things like sustainability, environmentalism.
My first attraction was, of course, the Koa top sheet. You know, it was something so unique and so beautiful, something that no one had ever seen in the snowboard industry.
Well, the reason I'm riding Arbor snowboards is I like the way they look and they ride great, period.
It's one of the most recognizable brands because of their wood top sheets.
And when we started talking about the sustainability story, the environmental story, it was a tiebreaker. And that's what we launched with.
We access the raw material for the top sheets from environmentally friendly sources. In addition, a portion of our annual profits will be donated to groups working to save ancient Koa forests.
Bob's passion for sustainability started from day one. And there really hasn't been a brand that started that way.
We're not trying to be like everyone else. We're trying to do something different. We want you to think we're different. But we're trying to make sure that the beauty of the wood on the snowboard is what's front and center.
All the other snowboard industry major top sheets were skulls and crossbones and blue hair and chain wallets and baggy pants. I'm like, dude, that's not me. My direction was big mountain riding, doing my own thing and my own freedom. And when I met Arbor and Bob, you know, they kind of had the same thread.
I think Arbor's always been very approachable, I think, for so many people. They've never tried to be hyper cool. They've always just focused on the fun and kind of letting people in.
So we knew when we came to market that we had something, not just that looked beautiful, but that rode well and would hold up. There were people who kind of, you know, said, oh, that'll never fly. But enough people and enough shops picked up on what we were doing, and I think we left that show with orders for 1,500 boards. We came home with a bunch of orders, and tried to start building boards at scale in our little snowboard shop and completely failed. Of the 1,500 boards we sold, we delivered 400 of them by the skin of our teeth. But we got something out, and we got through that first year. And we were seeing some initial success. We were selling boards, we were making boards, we were learning how to make them better, we were expanding our line. We ended up evolving the model even farther, and that led to Arbor Skateboards.
It was really bred out of their desire to make more cruiser-style boards to complement their snowboards.
Which for us was a way of taking this love of freeriding and translating that to skating those lost roads on the way to Mammoth and just getting out and making turns.
I mean, I don't know if there's anything that is more ubiquitous, more popular on that boardwalk than an Arbor skateboard.
When I look back on it, I'm sure we were making a lot of mistakes.
Once the market got really saturated, that's when a lot of the brands just started to fall by the wayside very quickly. And a lot of the growth was just very unsustainable.
We were hitting people over the head with a story that was outside of core snowboarding and not doing anything to build bridges. And it didn't matter until the industry started consolidating.
At a certain point in time, it's consumer demand meets what the shops themselves can actually stock.
I think we did not bring the boards in. I tried to talk some of the guys at the shop into it. They weren't really into it.
Shops were having to make choices about what brands they were going to keep and what brands they weren't going to keep.
And they say, well, we'd rather focus on the 10 or 12 that really have, an ability to drive the consumers into our shops.
All the differences that made us cut through the noise, all of a sudden made us, in a lot of cases, not making the cut. I was trying to convince a snowboard industry that was getting smaller and more core that we were relevant.
So in that time in the 90s, it was all about superstars and hotshots.
It was funny, man. It was kind of the time of fucking boy band marketing bullshit.
And it was about video parts, it was about, baggy pants, Dragon Hiss sunglasses, and a Volcom hat. And Bob didn't really have any of that. And he was resting on the idea that people want something different.
When I first started riding for Arbor, the Arbor aesthetic was like pure surf guy, wood top sheet, eco something.
We used to hear, oh, Arbor, that's that hippie brand. That's funny because this is a brand that was run by snowboarders for snowboarders. Tightly held business, all about a love of snowboarding. But our sustainability message came off as soft. Back then, it was not valued.
It was an amazing time, but it was a time where sustainability wasn't necessarily cool.
Wood creates a clean, unique look that makes every board we make one of a kind.
Our presentation was off.
They hadn't really figured out how they could integrate that super surf feel into snowboarding.
We were really into surfing, and we really loved the connection between surfing and riding big mountains.
Snowboarding has really come the closest to the surfing experience, especially when you're in fresh powder. It really starts to feel like you're on a surfboard.
We ended up working with Mickey Munoz, who was a legendary surfer from the 60s.
Mickey has probably more enthusiasm than anybody I know.
We had a certain amount of pride. We believed in what we were doing.
Start with who your audience is. You can market something, but if something doesn't get into somebody's hands.
We had done nothing to build a bridge to that endemic core of snowboarding. We were in too much debt. We had a few banks give up on us. Our sales had stopped growing and were plateauing. I had spent the last 5 or 6 years building my dream company, and it was slipping away. I got to this point where I didn't know if I could do it any longer. I was losing sleep. We had a few conversations about shutting it down. I had to flip our pyramid upside down, and I had to get out of the way and rethink everything. What we needed to do was find the things that would connect the opinion makers, the drivers of what was snowboarding and what wasn't snowboarding.
The next real piece was bringing in some key team guys.
We need team riders that share our values and want to tell our story and agree with our focus on sustainability and craftsmanship personally, but who can tell that story in a more compelling way.
They're like, yeah, we're not going to get the the traditional A-listers, but who are the riders out there that we can work with that'll bleed for the brand, that have a bit more of a grassroots following, certainly have the skills.
Mike Basich right out the gate, for me, he was already an established rider when I came into snowboarding. Just a really creative approach to life and snowboarding.
At the time, this is in 99, 2000, our Arbor wasn't exactly like top of the list of being cool in the snowboard industry. It was a certain category of soul surfers that snowboarded. When I get sponsored by somebody, I always kind of stand back and like, where are the areas that we can collaborate on, something I have to offer. I think this is the second year of the graphic I did for Arbor that was non-wood. Rob came, I think, the year or two after that I started.
Being from Jackson, there was a lot of Arbors around here. There was a lot of Arbor riders like John Griber. And so I had been exposed to the boards and I knew they were well built and definitely free ride oriented. I reached out to him and was like, hey man, what are you guys doing? I need a snowboard sponsor, would really love to maybe be involved and help you do something that's a little more freestyle.
If you know Rob and Mike, you don't get much more passionate about anything than those guys.
I think it brought more people into at least respecting the brand a little bit more, because there was pictures of two dudes ripping on them. And now you got Mikey jumping out of helicopters on his boards and Kinger going 10 feet out of the super pipe.
They also brought in a lot of aesthetic influence.
We did a pro model. That was like my big thing with all my photos. I told Bob, Mike, you can still make all this. Just add a couple more. All the photos I took for, gosh, that was a good 10 years, I think there. You don't have to say no to one thing, just offer, there's all kinds of snowboarders, and he knew that.
Arbor was evolving from being kind of a pure wood top sheet company to having graphics, and was exploring that idea. And for me, snowboarding's always been very graphics driven.
I think I brought a little bit of that stepping point of let's bring this in. I own photos, I own the rights to them. Let's take some pieces of them. That will be our color. We'll make it beautiful to sync with the wood. And that kind of was our niche.
Those guys had come up through snowboarding where I hadn't, and really just being at the table with them changed me and changed this brand.
And I think one of those great evolutionary leaps for the brand is when they started working with some of these artists and designers within ultimately what they called the collective.
Just was a perfect meld for us to kind of create that next layer of a brand that was the new kind of evolution of finding a different home and a different customer.
We started growing again, and I was able to start hiring people out of snowboarding.
And they had the products, they had the efficiencies, the distribution, they had the know-how, the aesthetic. Everything was buttoned up and ready to sit there and create an expansion. And the expansion was to go into a bit more of a traditional core, high engagement demo.
Our staff and our team riders, our managers really could be at the table, and I was just there to catch all that knowledge and just make sure we stayed on course with the brand, never let us deviate from sustainability. And that really led to the concept of the Arbor Collective, a group of people that love to skate, snowboard, and surf, and who work at or share this brand and the responsibilities of keeping it fresh and growing and moving into the future. This collective model that we started building the business around really worked. On the skate side, we started with a collaboration with Kelly Slater. We were able to talk about shaping that's inspired by surf, sustainability, sustainably sourced woods, and aspects of his life like travel and music, and build that all into a great package. Brad Farmer came over to run our marketing.
Bob really hired me to start working with them kind of specifically to try to develop the brand in a way that it had really never been developed before.
In order to create a successful path forward, we had to open that door a little bit and we had to be a little bit more accessible.
And the second team that we built was really built around Chili Miller, Scotty Vine, Sean Black, Curtis Woodman, and Nick Visconti.
One of the things that I brought to Arbor was creativity and innovation, and also this attitude of we're not going to let anybody tell us who we are.
Probably one of the biggest things that Bob saw was the initiative of trying to get a younger demographic and rider on the brand. The only way you're going to do it is if a younger demographic team rider is riding those boards.
You know, one of the cool things Brad did was he got us a board sponsorship with Bear Mountain. The way we really focused on winning our backyard was important to us at the time. Being every Sunday in the park, like have a couple really influential riders. We did an event there called the Face Off, and this little bratty, snot-nosed 14-year-old kid won. And we gave him a snowboard, came and hung out with us that night. His name was Eric Leone, and again, just kind of never left.
I was just trying to get our boards, our brand in everything possible. Just to kind of say, Arbor's here, we're for real, and we're coming for you.
So the team that Brad Farmer architectured, the primary change that it created was a perception change that we had already been experiencing at Arbor in the building, but maybe the rest of snowboarding didn't quite get yet.
You know, one of the other cool things that happened in that era as we were sort of evolving the more technical design side of the brand was we started getting into downhill skateboarding a bit. You know, we started skateboards as a way of kind of bringing our love of turning and speed from snowboarding over to skateboarding. And to finally see skateboarding finding a home in the mountains was really important to Arbor. We brought on a few athletes. The one that stands out for me is James Kelly. What he was able to do on a skateboard in the mountains, at speed, around turns, to this day, I think few people have touched. At the same time that we started doing more with skateboarding in the mountains, we started reinforcing what we were doing, you know, in park and street skating. And we built the whiskey program.
And to grow that, we needed a team of riders. That's where we brought in riders like Cameron Reviere, you had Alec Beck, you had Olin Prennett, along with Sean Imes. People may not have been aware that Arbor made every type of skateboard, but it really was that whiskey skate that defined Arbor skateboards, not just as longboards and cruisers, but a full product line offering as well.
The whiskey team started with local kids, and I say local kids, you gotta realize this is Venice. The street skating scene here and the Venice skate park is kicking out some of the best street skaters out there today. And there's just such a solid scene here. So we were able to really build on a young street skater from our neighborhood. This thing is starting to take on a life of its own, and we're moving away from this sort of Venice-centric team out into the world of skateboarding, and it's having a really powerful effect on where that program's going.
Being involved and having input and putting my 2 cents in to, you know, see what works, see what doesn't, you know, it's always brainstorming good things, and that's, you know, the collaboration, you know, between one another.
I've definitely seen how supportive Arbor is of their team riders, and I think it's amazing that they're able to provide that opportunity for people to follow their passion.
Again, it reflected the collective, the people that were coming in, you know, the pro surfers, the pro skaters, the pro snowboarders. Our athletes really shared our values and could tell it in compelling ways. We started bringing on artists that also shared our values.
Arbor's decision to start collaborating with other artists is really kind of like the next stepping stone for the brand. It really is what helped the aesthetics of the brand evolve.
We started bringing in larger amounts of graphics, mixing color and wood.
Over the years, Arbor's worked with amazing artists like Alex Gray, Aaron Draplin, Jeff Soto, Dave Kinsey, Sylvia G, Sawa, Hannah Stouffer, Craig Stesick, and that's just naming a few.
For me, Dave Kinsey was really the first successful collaboration we had with an artist of his caliber.
The artist collection for Arbor by me. That's Aaron Draplin.
Aaron Draplin is obviously one of the most well-known designers of our time, I think. You know, he's definitely going to go down in history books.
Good design can come in many, many forms. Give me the deck.
I think the way that he fit in is he does have a much simpler, bolder look.
When Eric starts, researching new artists to work with, which is part of the collective, every time that artwork lands on an Arbor product, it fits.
That's not to mention the in-house art department here. You know, extremely talented group of people. By doing skate, snow, and apparel, there are a lot of opportunities to do different styles of art. Ultimately, the way we work, we're just keeping the Arbor ethos intertwined throughout everything.
Opening and experimenting with art, and then opening and experimenting with shape philosophies sort of guided a light towards a new path for the brand altogether.
We really started kicking our design and development efforts up to another level.
I don't want to say we were first, but we were definitely in that first mix of brands who were evolving the way that snowboards looked, from being true popsicle sticks at the time or just very directional. What those platforms allow us to do is really experiment with tip and tail shaping and ramping and length.
Brad ended up leaving in 2009, and at that point, Matt Patti was running the snowboard division. Sean Black was his right-hand man. We moved into this third endemic team that is still such a huge part of the brand today.
Well, we first started talking with Mark Carter and Bryan Iguchi, and with Bryan, it just seemed like the perfect fit for Arbor.
The first years working with Arbor were exciting times. Taking 20 years of my experience and dreams, putting that into the boards that I was riding was just huge. And then, being able to be on the team with Mark Carter and get to know, the diverse team that Arbor was putting together at the time was just, some of the best memories I have.
The sophistication and maturity that he brings to snowboarding and where snowboard product meets snow is that's a whole different level. He is a unique soul and somebody I find drives a lot of calm strength into this business.
So Iguchi was kind of the first big move, big change. When we signed him, he said, hey, look, if we're gonna do this, I need my partner with me. Like I film, I hike, I work. Everything I do with Mark Carter.
And then behind him, we were able to bring in Marie-Francois.
For the longest time, I didn't think that there could be a way to snowboard for a living and work with companies that share the same values.
Marie more or less came to us and said, hey, look, I've been looking for a change in my career that more aligns with my personal values. And I've done some evaluations and I think Arbor's the right brand and I want to be here and let's figure out how to make it work.
Frank April, he is the linebacker of freestyle snowboarding.
Sean came and said, dude, I think we need Frank. I think this is the right balance for the team.
And Eric, he's just so creative and thoughtful in the process and talking about his passion for snowboarding.
Eric emerged as somebody who's witty, funny, conscientious, and his style on a snowboard is very refreshingly pure and proper and a bit raw.
And then bringing in just shredder Charles Reed. As soon as he joined the team, he was just a powerhouse.
And then now with Mary, adding more women on the team.
This third team that has really solidified for the industry the potential of Arbor. If you care about what you're making and you focus on what it is that drives you, you can succeed and you can build something out of nothing. We certainly did. I want to give a shout out to Chris Jensen. The guy I started Arbor with died a few years ago. And this brand is a blend of the two of us. So much of the good things about this brand and the energy that got us started were about Chris's personality. He left his mark on snowboarding. He left his mark on skateboarding. He helped surface the conversation around sustainability. In the 50 years that he was here, he changed the things that he loved for the better. And I'm pretty proud that today I can look at everything we do and know that it still fits with the goals and the values that Chris and I launched this brand with. Today, when we look at the wider effort for Arbor, we refer to a forest-to-forest mentality. We start by, in the forest, sourcing sustainable, renewable wood products that come from well-managed forests or non-forest environments, farm-grown. Then we ensure that the sustainability can be verified either by an outside organization or by a personal connection to the landowner where we can ensure that they're managing their land properly. Then we work to really stretch these resources by veneering them, book matching. The way we treat the material stretches and maximizes the resource so we can use far less of this material and it can go much farther. We then are always focused on positive production facilities, everything we can do to make sure that this high quality, performance-oriented product is at every level made with the environment in mind. We're the first traditional action sports brand to create an environmental give-back program, which we call our Returning Roots program. Acting locally, as people from the United States, our only tropical rainforests are in Hawaii. In a tropical environment, a tree wet rots instantly after it falls over, covered by other plants and animals who sink their roots into that wet, rotting environment and pull the carbon out as a nutrient, hence resequestering it with every successive generation of plant life. So if you're planting trees in tropical forests, you're sequestering carbon for the life of the forest rather than just the life of one tree.
We're just basically trying to rebuild Hawaiian koa forests. And it's not just planting koa trees, but it's also rebuilding the entire forest. So the understory, all the supportive plants that help make that koa forest healthy.
So for 25 years, we've been working in Hawaii as the best place to focus on offsetting carbon, as the best place to give back to the roots of surf, skate, and snow, and as the best place for us to give back to forests and the overall environment.
For a variety of reasons, there's always been that underlying, like, if we can do it and we can do it better in an eco-friendly way, then we're gonna do it. And if it costs a little bit more, that's okay, because we believe in it.
Bob Carlson, 29, president, along with Chris Jensen, 29, vice president.
You know, looking back here at 25 years, I'm humbled and proud at the same time for the role we've played in advancing sustainability inside action sports. Along the way, those commitments led to some notable firsts. We were the first action sports brand to promote the importance of sustainable materials. We were the first brand that I'm aware of in all of action sports to actually publish an environmental policy in our catalog so that we could be held to those commitments. I don't want to forget the good things of the past. I want to build on them, humbly acknowledging what we brought to market first in snowboarding and skateboarding and apparel, things that we promoted, things that we invented, things that we surfaced, is a way of reensuring that the culture of this company will keep doing that.
Ultimately, I just don't think that being environmentally conscious should be a polarizing political issue, because it's a human issue and we all need to come together to address and fix it.
I think it's undeniable that the Earth is seeing warmer days in crazier places and stuff going on like never before.
And I think Bob's done a really insane job of really creating a company that's inclusive but also super innovative.
Bob can be a little bit hard-headed. His hard-headedness and his focus and his determination to stay on target, he wasn't going to waver from where he knew that this brand could go. And his ability to stand firm and be sometimes aggressive in those thoughts are exactly why the brand is still here.
When he first started focusing on sustainability and snowboarding, that was something nobody else was doing at all. And he was the champion for something that really needed to happen in snowboarding, because at the end of the day, like, we are so connected to the earth as snowboarders.
Yeah, I mean, his saying around here is, you know, is progress, not perfection. When something comes out, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be getting better. You know, we've got to be climbing the ladder and taking the steps to get us, you know, just more thoughtful about the environment and making more sustainable product.
And it's really created a massive tidal wave of eco-friendly products across the whole industry. And it was in some ways because he was pushing how important that was.
It's more important than ever that the outdoor industry, ski, snowboard, whatever it is, has some mindset on that.
I just think we need to collectively have more foresight. We need to collectively be on the same page, and we need to speak up, stand up for what we believe in and what we care about and what we want to protect. So it's really interesting and exciting to see more brands standing up and more people speaking up.
For me, Arbor's always been a company that inspires me because it's been so dedicated from the get-go.
Arbor means to me standing up for what is right. It means following your own destiny, not following the pack, and understanding that community, friendships, the vendor-brand relationship are all super important. And Bob stands for all of that.
The Arbor brand has stayed true to its original aesthetic and its original vision and still remains very powerful.
And that means that there's a through line to me. That means that there's a point of view. And frankly, they're not distracted by chasing trends.
And we want to do everything to make the snowboarding industry just a better place to be. Not only as a family, but as a workplace and stewards of the sport.
Oh man, the future's super bright.
There's so much attention to detail and such a big team all working together, which is again why it's called the Arbor Collective.
I always just felt accepted in Arbor in a way that I hadn't with any other brand before.
You know, here at 25 years, I can stop and look back with a lot of confidence because of the people that are surrounding this brand.
You know, I'm a really big believer that timing is everything in life, and like there's these windows of opportunity that open. You know, finding, you know, a brand that, you know, you align with the values and the approach to building snowboards and the, you know, just the legacy and the tradition and inspiration. You know, it's just a profound time.
When some of your heroes become your partners in your business, it's humbling and it's rewarding. For us at Arbor, it's a great part on the arc of using a collection of people to ensure the health and ongoing success of the brand. What we're doing as a family right now is incredible to me. As we look to the next 25 years, our ongoing mission is really about sticking to the idea of mindfully crafted products that are built for all of the good times as we are heading out to go surf, skate, and snowboard, and about, you know, the great lines that we dream about, that we seek out in the backcountry, on the resort, on lost roads, around our house. You know, it's those moments and memories that we create when we're out riding. And if we focus on those things, this brand will be here for another 25 years.